Hi, it's me again. I've always loved to experiment with multimedia, and I've formed the opinion that you can use water-based media to paint on any surface once it's got the right absorbency. And I'll show you just a couple of practical things I've found out about. Watercolour papers are in general easy to paint on because they've had a special surface coating, often referred to as sizing, added to the paper that reduces the amount of water that will get sucked in. Usually that sizing contains a bit of a filler. Traditionally they were called Gessos, but these days they can be all sorts of fillers. I've just got a couple of things here to show you. This is a Montmartre so-called watercolour book, but it's like painting on a blotting paper. So I just want to show you that you can change the absorbency of the paper a lot just by adding, and I'm just going to use acrylic gesso, and I'm going to do a couple of tests, just getting some gesso or gesso, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, diluting it down a little bit. You can put it on full, but then you tend to get brush textures. So I'm putting a stripe here, which is one layer, and I'm also going to put a stripe here, which I'll let dry and add a second layer to. I've also got a tiny pad, I'm not sure, it's probably very old, but it's basically canvas. It's for oil paint sketching, and I'm going to do exactly the same. So I've just got the top layer is one thin layer, and down the bottom I'll do two layers. Now, like any good cooking show, I'll have to put those in the oven or just let them dry, and I'll come back and do a second layer. Just accept the fact that I've done a second layer down the bottom here. It's later in the day. The light's not as good as it was earlier, but I hope you can see. I'm putting a shadow on it there. This is a single layer of gesso, this is a double layer of gesso, and again on here, single and double layer. If I just, I've got some pretty wet paint, and if I put it on here, you can see that it's spreading out a lot, or on the canvas you can see it's combining and sort of beading. Doesn't look so bad there. This one you'll see that it spreads quite a bit. So now I'm going to try it on the single layer of gesso, get a bit more paint. And you can see that's not so good. You can see here probably I'm going to get sharper edges. And we'll do it on the double gesso. Gave myself a bit of worry there because it was beading more, but I think I just had added a bit too much water. So what does this show us? That on canvas, without a normally finished canvas, the absorbency is not very good for water-based media. With a single coating of thin gesso, it's better, but not as good as when you've got two layers. And on the essentially blotting paper, I'm getting better connection even just with the single layer of gesso. In this case, the double's not worthwhile. Although there is one big benefit that I've found is you can easily lift off the paint. I'm just using a bit of tissue paper. I want to put a bit of water on there. And wouldn't be possible to do that up on the blotting paper. It's not going to lift off the paint. So that's about it. You can add sizing to essentially blotting paper or old watercolour paper that the sizing's started to deteriorate on, and you can make smooth surfaces hold the watercolour by adding sizing in the form of gesso. Now, gesso is not the only thing that's sold. Daniel Smith have a particular formula for painting over canvases and things like that to give you watercolour absorbency. And all the paint manufacturers will have one form or another of material that you can paint onto either paper, cardboard or canvas. So don't throw those old sketchbooks out that seem to be too absorbent and not working so well. Just get some reasonable gesso, thin it down and try out 1 and 2 layers to see how it goes. See ya.